There is a moment from the 2006 film Brick that I particularly love. In this scene, our hero, Brendan, is just about to be accused of committing a murder that he didn't commit. All the while, behind him, another character is seething with rage, which is expressed through his tearing up of little bits of grass. As the scene progresses, the tension gets higher and higher, the cutting gets more intense, the intensity of the performances increases as well, as does the music, until eventually...
She had a kid in her and he couldn't stand it!
Everything boils over, and there is an explosion of violence. We realise that Tug was in fact the murderer all along, but it's not the explosion of violence that particularly interests me. It's the calm before the storm. I think the reason I like this moment so much is because it embodies so much of the genre in which Brick exists. The very nature of a mystery story is that we discover the effects before we discover the causes. For example, we know that someone has been murdered before we know why or by whom. If you want to think of it in terms of grammar, most stories are told X, therefore Y, but mysteries are told Y because X. In mysteries, characters see effects and are then challenged to work out the causes. The entire film works off this idea, not just at the macroscopic scale of the plot, but also in microcosm, in the individual interactions between characters in scenes. One of my favourite ways that this is executed is by having things happen just off screen and then panning to reveal them. For example, the car shakes because Brendan sat on it. Or how about there is a ding and a loud ringing noise. Because the thug hit his head. Other moments are played entirely off screen. For example, Brendan being hit by a car door, we can only tell that from the sound and the reaction of his hand. He's not on screen to be hit by the door. Again, the fighting upstairs in one of the final confrontation scenes. We don't see it, we only hear it, and see it from the perspective of the people in the parley room at the bottom. This is part of the reason why the cutaway at the tunnel works so well, but there's more to it than that. The other elements at play here are crucial elements to mystery stories. Setups and payoffs, and misdirection. The dropping of the grass is essentially the firing of a Chekhov's gun that had been planted at the very beginning of the scene when we saw Tug pulling at the grass. And the misdirection? Well, that's done by the camera. Just before the reveal takes place, the camera slightly moves to one side, obscuring Tug from our vision entirely and filling the frame with Brendan. Tug becomes irrelevant right up until he becomes the most crucial part of the scene. And that's why I love this scene and Brick as a whole, because it's committed to the idea of mysteries not only at the large scale of its storytelling and its plot, but right down to the minutiae, right down to the craft of filmmaking itself. It tells a macroscopic mystery, but it also tells a mystery in microcosm. Thank you all so much for watching. I had a really good time making this video. I think it turned out pretty well. I really like Brick, and it was just nice to have a chance to talk about some cool things that happen in it. If you enjoyed this video, it is in fact going out on my birthday, so if you want to particularly help me in my birthday celebrations, you can do that by sharing this on like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn if you want. I share these videos on LinkedIn. It's a very weird experience. And if you particularly like this video, I think I already said that, but if you particularly like it, feel free to subscribe.